Hello and welcome to another Telling Porkies, the show where we just discuss moments in life based on records that are etched with Porky Prime Cut on it. Today I am blessed to have a guest of Scratchy Myers, a man described once as the world's greatest DJ. Is that correct, Scratchy?
Actually, it's not. Well, it is. I describe myself as the world's #1 DJ every living, breathing moment. But no, I think the quote is Britain's #1 DJ, and that appeared on London Calling.
Which I believe I've got here. Sorry for misquoting on you. But yeah.
Yeah. And a notorious spelling mistake of my name as well there.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Wonderful. Oh, it's Benny.
There were a bunch of jokers in the Clash pack, and I earned that the Birri rather than the Barry because of my fondness at the time for biryanis.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So there was that, and even the kind of Britain's #1 DJ was a joke, you know. Even though it went on to be true, but as far as the world's concerned, I'm most probably about #2. I reckon.
Is that the old Frank Brian Clough line? You know, I'm not saying I'm the world's best DJ, but our best football manager, but I'm in the top one. Yeah.
Oh right, he must have stole it from me then. Yeah.
But what's great about this, as well as an introduction, is London Calling is a Porky Prime Cut record, and arguably the greatest Porky Prime Cut record. And you played on my Porky Prime Cuts night. You are actually the king of Porky Prime Cuts.
Yeah, I mean, I personally have never come across a copy. My copy is not.
Was it not
a Porky? No, it's I've got it's in here somewhere. Here you go. Here's my copy with its original sticker. Fantastic. Up there, a right mess, but it's a CBS one, and it's an early one, and it's a promo.
You're in the promo copy.
Oh yeah, and it's a CBS mastering. I is your one of Porky's?
Mine is, yeah.
Okay, all right, because I've not seen that, and I've only just recently read that
it was.
What Porky did was write a different word on each disc, and it says "tear down the walls." So I never knew that. So you learn something every day.
Well, we'll move quickly on into your first choice, or the record that chose you, really, I suppose, is when it comes to the Porky records, is it's records that you just randomly find, isn't it? So what's your first one that you have for us?
Let me see what I got here. I think I might as well go with this one.
Oh, right, okay. I don't know this. Tell me about this. Where did you get this?
Do you not recognise anybody in that picture?
Is that Captain Sensible? No.
No. Let me see if I can. This one.
I can't see from there. Is it yourself?
It is. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. My that is a band I had in. When was that? I think it was about 88. Yeah, 88. And we mastered that album at Porkies. That's my one personal experience of going to the basement in Soho and cutting that album. Well, I didn't cut it. Porky did. You know, I just sat there and marvelled.
Did you meet George?
Yeah, well, he cut it.
Yeah. Yeah, what's he like? I've never met him.
Huh?
I've never met him. What's he like?
I couldn't tell you. It was, what were we talking, like 32 years ago? I was just most probably overawed, you know, even though I kind of knew precious little about mastering sort of back then, it was still the place to go, and that was on Diablo Records, which was a subsidiary of Demon. And they sent us to Porkies to get it cut. So, you know, I suppose I was a little bit in awe of, you know, there we were in the famous Porky Prime Cuts, you know, mastering our album. But as I said, you know, we didn't master it, he did.
Released?
Hmm?
Was that the first record you ever released?
It actually was, yeah. Yeah, that's the first one I was on, and we did 2 albums. Trash County Dominators, 2 albums, and yeah, I had to wait to the age of 36 to get that out. So it was a long time coming.
Did it feel like a real record to you?
Oh yeah, of course. You know, it was maybe a record in terms of, like, you know, the oldest for a first release. I don't know.
I'm sure you're not.
No, I'm sure not.
So that was in 88, yeah?
1988, yeah.
And what were you doing in 88? Where were you living? Where were you about? What was kind of the general gist of your life around then?
I was living in Camden, squatting. And we were doing
Camden?
We were right on Camden Road. There were a whole bunch of squats right there opposite what is now Sainsbury's.
Oh, yeah, I know that run of houses, yeah.
Yeah, and it was cool. It was sort of quite a community. Quite a lot of the buildings, you know, were squatted, but it was Sainsbury's buying the building across the street that basically, you know, sounded the you know, the death knell.
Right.
We knew it was coming, and, you know, ultimately we were all evicted.
And were you drinking that thing? Because it was what was the name? It was now a goth pub that was a big haunt at that time, around about 88, was it not? What's the name of that pub that's just on Holly Crescent? Opposite MPV. I think the Pogues used to drink a lot in it.
Oh, no, yeah, that's the Devonshire.
Devonshire Arms, that's right.
Devonshire Arms, yes, yeah, we used to drink there, and but it wasn't a goth pub then.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
I could tell.
And there was the Electric Ballroom. There was Rock On Records. You know, it was changing there. The market had expanded from. Excuse me. You know, when I first used to be involved with Camden and was working at Dingwall's Dance Hall, the original Dingwall's Dance Hall, you know, the Camden market was one little square.
Right. Was it small?
Very. Yeah, it was literally between Camden High Street and the yard behind, which is where the original Dingwalls was. The original Dingwalls was parallel to Camden High Street. And what they call Dingwalls now is like somebody, you know, King Kong came up, lifted it up and turned it through 90 degrees and plonked it back down.
I didn't realise that. And that Dingwalls was a really good scene at that time, wasn't
it? Which, the 70s or the 80s?
The late night drinking haunt for musicians, really.
Yeah. I mean, you know, a good decade and a half, you know, from the mid 70s onwards. Yeah.
And I suppose, not being rude, want to move quickly on to choice number 2, away from your fine record of your own. But yeah, what have we got next for us?
Okay, done that one. Let's go with this one.
King Tubby.
Yeah.
Oh.
Which I played the night of. I mean, I played a track from the Trash County Dominators, a track called Sympathy, the night that you organised, where a bunch of people came along and spun some Porkies records. I played this one, the Augustus Pablo, King Tubby Needs to Rock Us Uptown, and I mean, you know, in all honesty, when you asked me to come and do this, I didn't know what was a Porky's record and what wasn't, other than the Trash Going Dominators one. Obviously, I was aware of his reputation and what he'd done in terms of, you know, a lot of punk rock records, but it was actually a lot of fun. I had to do a bunch of research, and most of that was done by Discogs, where you can find out, you know, what was a Porky's record.
Well, I thought thousands. I thought I had thousands and thousands of ones that said Porky, because I just remember seeing it all the time. And then as I went through my singles, wasn't that many? You know what I mean? It's quite strange how a repeat exaggerates itself.
The other interesting thing, though, was that I'd go, "Oh, I've got that," and then I'd pull it out, and I would look just to make sure, and I'd find, hang on, it doesn't say Porky's Prime Cuts on it. And it turned out, you know, that the same single would be mastered in different places, and obviously, you know, with the Clash one, with the London Calling album, and there is actually, I don't think there's a record on Discogs that was cut at any time in Porky's. So I was looking just a little earlier, and the only thing I could find on the internet was one comment in one blog somewhere that mentioned that tear down the walls thing. So I've never seen one. That's the only mention on the internet. So I'd be fascinated to see your copy at some time. But yeah, no, it was strange that you know, it costs money to master a record, but even like some small independents, you know, there'd be a cut that was done one place, and then there'd be a cut that was done at Porky's. So maybe as they sold out their first issue and it was a popular 45, maybe they then went to Porky's to get a more professional cut, or maybe the other way around. Who knows? So it was. I'd never thought of things in these terms.
Yeah. Yeah, it does seem very strange that different issues have a different mastering process. Seems intense, you know, but I don't know.
Especially for small labels and so on. But it was doing that research that I discovered, you know, that he had cut, you know, a few great reggae records, and another one which I also played on your night was the Funky Kingston album, Toots and the Maytals. I think I played Louie Louie off of that, and I was really sort of gratified how many people danced when I put this Augustus Pablo on, you know, because roots reggae, which is something I've been into since sort of the early 70s, early 1970s. That is, not my early 70s. I'm not quite there yet. Getting very close, unfortunately. I find in sort of more contemporary times, it's a hard one to play when you're out working. You know, it's if you're playing to a reggae crowd, no problem. But other crowds, the more sort of maybe R&B crowd, and by R&B I mean rhythm and blues, and rock and roll, and so on. Ska works fine, but if you go into that more sort of 70s roots side of Jamaican music, you can see, not with everyone, but you can see with some people, you know, the traps coming down on the eyes, you know, the glaze glazing over, which I think is a real shame, because I think it's wonderful music, but I get it in whenever I can.
And where were you
to play that night and get the reaction I got, and that is a classic. King Tubby meets the Rockers Uptown, you know. So
where were you?
But I wouldn't have known that was a Porky's Prime cut had I not been going through doing that research for it. And in fact, it doesn't even say Porky's Prime Cut on it. It says Pecco, which is another alias that he used, for records that he cut. So, that was a great discovery.
And where were you living when you bought that record?
Well, number one, I don't think I bought it. Back in, that came out when 75, 76. Back in those days, record companies were very generous. If you were a working DJ, you could go and ransack their promotional record libraries. So you kind of survived off that. Apart from anything else, you take records out that you plainly didn't want, and you go down to a place called Cheapos in is it possibly Wardour Street, but one of those streets in Soho, and you would exchange them for money and you would eat that week. So it was a way of surviving. But that one I didn't get rid of, and so back then I was living in near Portobello Road.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, through those through that punk era, sort of 76 to 80. I was living in Powis Square, which is the square famous for being supposedly where Mick Jagger lived in performance.
Yeah.
And that what's it called? The observatory of that building was still in existence then. It's sadly over the years it got pulled down at some point, but it was basically the frontage of where Jagger supposedly lived in the film. The Jagger character had this wonderful observatory, and that still existed when I was there in the late 70s.
Absolutely wonderful. You're a proper tour about hip London. You're a tour of hip London. It's fantastic.
Yeah. I never lived on King's Road, but there you go.
And our next choice, if we can, Scratchy.
Okay. Okay. This one.
Again? Oh, the Nomads.
Yeah.
I've heard of, but I haven't heard them.
Fabulous album.
Yeah.
Sort of like mid-80s garage band from Sweden, and I played. Which track did I play? I can't. From beginning to end, it's a fabulous album, and again, I've had that album. How many years is that? 30 odd years, 35 years. I never knew it was a Porky's Prime Cut. So that was a great thing about the night. It gave me an opportunity because of the theme that you put in place. It gave me a chance not only to find out that these happened to have been mastered there, but it gave me a chance a good reason for pulling it out and giving it a spin. That if anything was the most important thing about the night. The chance to kind of, I haven't played this in ages. Brilliant.
Yeah. Well, I really like that because quite often we rewrite history when it comes to like top 5 records and all this sort of thing, and the past keeps changing, but the future's certain, But I think with the Porkies thing, it's a little bit more random when you go into things, and that's why it kind of brings up good memories, because it's, why did I buy this? What was going on at the time? Because it's a little bit sometimes off the beaten track, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
remember that 80s, I don't know if it was quite a revival, but a sort of rebirth of garage punk. You know, that's when I bought my Pebbles records. I first got them, and there was a Dam doing Nas Nomad and the Nightmares. There was XTC doing the Dukes of Stratosphere, and I think my first garage punk record I heard was a band called the Gravedigger 5. That was a sort of 80s band that was kind of going back to that. So that's where I you know, first heard that music and kind of get introduced to it. So the Nomads.
Yeah, well, that to me is a great thing about them. There was, I mean, I got Lenny Kaye's Nuggets when it came out, and that was my first real exposure to, you know, something like Woolly Bully crossed over in if you were listening to like serious pop music in the 60s, but by and large, you know, all those small obscure psychedelic garage bands that were happening in the States, you didn't get to hear them here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you know, I was like early teens, so the odd record might slip in and so on. And I was more about sort of started off with British beat, which really was my pop music. You know, so bands like the Kinks. I mean, the first record I ever bought was "You Really Got Me." You know, and the Animals and the Yardbirds and the Small Faces. You know, that's the music that really got me going. So, you know, when I got a chance to sort of pick up on the Nuggets bands, and so I think Lenny Kaye's Nuggets came out early 70s. So that was my
73, 74, something like that.
Yeah, because I definitely played it. My first ever punk rock gig was at Dingwalls with the Ramones.
Oh wow!
In 1976. Well, it was actually a Flaming Groovies were the headline band, but for me and most people who were there, it was the night the Ramones came to play, and I know that I played a good half dozen tracks off Nuggets that night. So yeah, it was already, you know, part and parcel of what I did. But yeah, come the 80s, I really should have got myself some water. Yeah, so.
Want me to pause?
Yeah, could you? Is it?
Okay, Scratchy, so we're back on again. So yes, we were talking about garage punk, Nuggets music, and kind of how you're reflecting on
that. Yeah, well, to me, that was very much the angle I came from with punk. It was my sort of my beat music, British beat music beginnings, which kind of led me to the electric blues and so on. And I was listening to the music of people like John Lee Hooker and Howlin' Wolf and Little Walter, but without realizing at first, you know, that's the music. That was the roots of the music where I started, and it was later that I kind of went back, and this became a big sort of important part of how I've approached music ever since. Is like, this is great. Where does it come from? And garage punk, you know, the 60s, what was happening in the mid 60s in the States predominantly, became very much part of that. And so when punk happened in the 70s, you know, I called on a lot of that stuff within the sets that I would play. And so again, in the 80s, there was another revival, and bands like the Nomads, like the Tall Boys here, who came out of the Meteors and so on. And, you know, it just all connected. and you know, the Nomads were very much part of that. So that was yeah. I recommend that album to anybody. Hunt yourself down a copy.
Fantastic. And then, what's your next choice?
Good question. Okay, well, having been talking about punk, this one.
Oh, there we go. Okay. I've got a remastered version. I've got one remastered by Tony James that came out late in the 80s. So it's Lamb.
Yeah. I mean, the story of this is that when it was sent to mastering, it was sent without the tones on it or something, you know, that it was almost mastered in the dark, without the reference. You're supposed to put reference tones at the beginning of a tape, so that equipment can be calibrated. I mean, I think there might have been more than that. It might have just been what people did not consider a great mix. Mm-hmm. Whatever the truth of it, like Raw Power before it, where they say something similar, I say leave greatness alone. Yeah, I fell in love with LAMF, Like a Motherfucker, for those who don't know what it means, by the Heartbreakers, and Iggy and the Stooges, Raw Power, for the albums that they were.
Yeah.
Not from any kind of fine point of like, oh, well, you know, this is a bit muddy, or this is, oh, I can't hear the bass, or I can't hear this, that, and the other. I mean, Iggy's remix, remastering, whatever, of Raw Power. As much as I love Iggy, you know, just put that in the trash. Raw Power, leave it alone. Fabulous album, you know.
And Like a Motherfucker, I believe.
And the same with LAMF.
And Like a Motherfucker, I believe, was a gang reference, wasn't it? If a gang went into another gang's territory in New York, you know, Like a Motherfucker, you put your gang name and Lamf, Like a Motherfucker. You'd write.
Oh, okay. I didn't.
You infringed on your patch, yeah.
Okay.
Scotland to write Yabas. So it'd be like Young Tribe Yabas. You know, you put that.
Right, okay.
But in New York, it was Lamf, yeah.
Yeah. So that I played what I played that night. I'm not sure where it is, but I actually played the 45 of One Track Mind, and I played the Heartbreakers version of The Contours, Do You Love Me?
Yeah.
But which isn't actually on here. It's only on the 45. But as I couldn't find the single, I thought I'd show the world this one. But they were both done at the album, and the 45 were both cut at Porkies. Obviously, a lot of people at that particular time were cutting there.
Wonderful, Scratchy. It's been an absolute joy. It's been a journey through.
I have one more.
Oh, you got one more? Go on, go.
Oh yeah. Well, definitely. Oh, definitely. This one. This needs to be there, and this is one of my all-time favorite bands.
Absolutely. In fact, I've been down at the London Museum at the London Calling exhibition, where obviously you exhibited yourself. There's a section all based on you, and it's got the Cramps. Has it got a single up of the Cramps?
No, I think I put up the first album cover.
That's right.
So songs the Lord taught us.
That's right.
And the Cramps to me were a great source of musical education for me. They opened up for the Clash on the first American tour in New York, and I'd already got into their. I don't know if both of the first two singles on Vengeance that they put out, or whether only one was out at the time. But I bought those at Rough Trade. I bought those. You know, they were American imports. Yeah, so I bought those at Rough Trade, and so I was really looking forward to see them, and they were incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been quoted in a book about them, this story, but it was like they came on. This was at the Palladium in New York, the old Academy of Music, and I went out into the audience to watch them, and just mesmerizing and so on. And they finish, and I'm clapping away, yeah. And I go, hang on a sec, I'm supposed to be on stage playing a record. And I went dashing through the place, waving my backstage pass, you know, I've got to get back there, And I think I'd also been told, you know, they weren't supposed to do an encore. You know, time was tight, all that kind of thing. And I'm running through the place, let me through. And as I reached the stage, they came back out, you know, which partly saved my ass as far as the audience was concerned, but also got me into a little bit of hot water because they weren't supposed to be having an encore.
Mutually beneficial, that was then, yeah. Mutually beneficial. Yeah, they covered your ass and you got the public.
I was more than happy to hear another song from them. But
what was their encore?
Oh, I can't.
I thought
questions like that, you know, so much in time. No, I can't. I have no idea. But I you know, I loved every minute.
Was that your first time in America when you went on the tour with the Clash?
It was actually my second, because I'd hitchhiked around in summer of 1974.
Right. Okay.
But my first time in any kind of musical terms.
And you hitchhiked to, where did you go? What was your kind of pathway?
I started in New York. I went to Boston, then kind of worked my way across, made a couple of stops along the way, but picked up a ride from New York State all the way to Detroit, and stayed with the guy who gave me a ride, driven, I think it's like 700 miles to a Grateful Dead concert in Pennsylvania, and picked me up, and I stayed with him for a week whilst I was there. Nixon resigned, which was a great moment of celebration. From there, from there I got a ride down to Colorado, then worked my way, got stuck trying to hitch out of Salt Lake City. Nobody wanted to pick me up. I had hair down. You can't see on the camera, but I had very, very long hair back then. And then ultimately got a ride out to California, and again somebody picked me up, drove me all the way through Nevada and so on, and I stayed with them for a while. Got a job in a temporary job in a record store in San Francisco. Went down and back up the coast to San Francisco, back to New York and home. So I think that was 3 months, and it was
immense.
I was a student at the time, and there was this scheme called BUNAC, where you were able to work, get sort of working papers for the summer and so on, which is, you know, as I said, I put to use for a while when I was in San Francisco.
It's funny, I never knew. I mean, obviously with the sort of records of history, there's the whole scandal around Nixon, but I didn't realise it was a real celebration when he got done, I suppose, you know, when he resigned and got done.
Yeah. It would have been nice to have had another one recently, but there you go.
Can't always get what we want. Not with rogues.
No. Yeah. But if you try sometimes, you may just get what you need.
And that's a lovely exit note, I think, there. Scratchy, you have been absolutely immense. I can't recommend enough going to see, go to dance, not to see, go to dance to your sets. Absolutely wonderful DJ. Been a real pleasure. And to Britain's #1 DJ, we say thank you. And I'll speak
and
to
the world's #2.
Scratchy, thank you very much. Cheers.
Cheers.